Hello there everybody, Sabai92 aka Nightmare, and welcome back to Steins Gate Zero. In the last episode, which was a very short one, we managed to complete, well, what was basically the Kagari and Mayuri route, which was very sweet, and it actually showed, you know, Mayuri being strong, even though Kagari inevitably basically stopped her, and she took Mayuri's place, going back to the past. But that right there, it showed a really strong moment for Mayuri. It made her much more mature as a character, which actually I liked that. It was very heart-wrenching, if I can be perfectly honest. But with that, we now only have apparently 2 paths left. So the next one we're going to be working on is called Vega and Altair, which, let's see. Step 1, make sure, don't turn your phone off. Okay, I've already got the save files to back that up. 123, in front of Daru, ignore the phone call from Amadeus. Oh, that's in Pandora's box. Okay. I do believe I've got that somewhere. Pandora's box. That's actually... Wow, that is actually pretty early on. Wow, that's way over here. Only mocking in 11 hours. Okay, Okay, so we're going to go ahead and ignore the phone call in front of Daru. Maho looked troubled. I didn't want Kurisu hearing this either. I didn't know what to do. And... yeah, there's that. And then I remembered. The world line where I'd spent a month during wartime. I remember that the Amadeus Kurisu was being used by the US military there. Oh, one other thing. One thing I should have, pieced together. The woman that attacked and tried to capture Kagari, that Suzuha was fighting, it should have been painfully obvious who exactly it was. And I feel very stupid that I didn't kind of try to piece that together. That must have been Dr. Reyes. It must have been. Ugh. She has military training, so it makes sense. Also, it kind of clears Akane of any accusations, which is good. I mean Yuki and... damn it, why do I keep getting the wrong fucking... I still didn't know what that meant. Neither did I! I stared at my phone's screen. Should I answer it? Or should I talk to Daru first? Daru nodded and grabbed some snacks off the table to gobble down. I put the smartphone in my pocket. For now, I needed to focus on talking to Daru. Hmm.
どういうこと？
俺が言いたいのはただ一つだ。そのノート PC を解析しようなんて真似は今すぐやめろ。その PC の中には 世界を混沌へ導くほどのとんでもないものが眠ってるかもしれないんだ。
Of course, the skepticism. You're not the ones that went through a month of absolute hell.
おい、聞いてるのか。
12秒つ。
あなたってそういう人だったのね。
違う、こっちは大真面目なんだ。法院巨魔とかそういうんじゃなくて。
12秒打つ。
Daru?
12秒じゃないんだって。
I slammed my hand down on the table. The shock was enough to cause one of the empty cans on the table to fall to the floor.
いいか、聞いてくれ。これは鈴葉とも関連している話だ。
鈴葉？
お前だって知ってるだろう。鈴葉の使命のことは。
詳しく。
半ばち論文だ。
That was enough for Daru to understand.
マジで？
最初からマジだ。
そっか。ま、だいたいそんなところじゃないかって予想はしてたけど。
Daru didn't say another word. He opened a locked, fire-resistant case that was sitting on one of the racks. There were a laptop and hard drive hidden within.
それが。
Oh, yep. The laptop was a deep red Japanese model with a 12-inch LCD screen. The hard drive was American, from a brand known for equipping its drives with a shock-resistant rubber case. The laptop and hard drive that Kurisu left behind.
確認だが、結局セキュリティは破れなかったんだよな。
まあ、僕たちの作ったソフトの前にはどんなハッカーもお手上げっつうことで。
もうこれ以上解析はするな。
一応依頼料をもらってるわけだが。
He looked apologetically towards Maho. Yeah. She was glaring at me.
さっきも聞いたけど、あなたたちはクリスの事件について一体何を隠しているの？
真実を知ろうとすることが必ずしも正しいとは限らない。
それはあなたの考えよ。判断すべき情報も提示してくれないなんて。
Because if he gives you that information, you will hate him for the rest of your life.
危険なんだよ。君だってこの間襲われたんだ。それは分かってるはずだろ。
私はナイトの後ろに隠れているだけの臆病者になりたくないわ。
So wait, you consider me you consider me your knight in shining armor?
科学者として真実にたどり着く努力をやめたくないのよ。たとえそこにどんな危険が潜んでいるとしてもね。
分からずやだな。
もし私がクリスだったとしても、多分そういうんじゃないかしら。違う？
I started. Maho was right. Yeah. I remembered having the same conversation with Kurisu. It was when we were looking into CERN, I think.
これはもうちゃんと話すしかないって。
誰？
何をどう言っても納得しないって顔してるよ、マホタンは。
Yeah.
ええ、納得しないわ。
それに中途半端に関わってる方がかえって危ないんじゃね？オカリンの言うことがマジならだけどさ。
Daru had a point. At this rate, Maho could very well get herself in deep trouble without realizing what she'd done. Just the fact that she was carrying Kurisu's belongings made her a part of the Third World War, but she had no idea. That computer wasn't just something to remember an old friend by anymore. It was at the center of an international power struggle. Russian-speaking arsonists had forced their way into Kurisu's home in America. Afterward, mysterious men claiming to be in the FBI had searched Dr. Alexis's lab. This whole thing was on the verge of exploding. and people like me were nothing in the face of a war between nations.
鈴葉に関連することも話すことになるぞ。ダル、お前はそれでいいのか？
しょうがないっしょ。
Not really, not at this point. I turned back toward Maho.
ヒアジョーさん、一つだけ約束してくれないか？君は科学者だ。しかも極めて理性的な人だと俺は信じている。感情に任せて迂闊なことはしないでくれ。軽率なことはしないでくれ。
Don't be like I once was.
これから話すことは突拍子もないことだ。馬鹿げていると思うかもしれないけど事実なんだ。だから
回りくどい言い方はやめて。一体私に何を誓わせたいの？
Oh dear.
マキセ・クリスを救おうなんて絶対に考えるな。
Her mouth hung open, like she didn't understand what she just heard.
クリスを救う？
それが約束できないのなら話すつもりはない。どうする？
救える可能性があるということ？
そう思えるかもしれないが実際には可能性はゼロだということだ。
さっきも言ったでしょ。判断すべき情報も与えられていないのだから安易に回答は出せない。教えて、すべてを。
Oh boy. I took a deep breath and began to tell her the story. I told her about the time machine, about Suzuha, and about the Third World War. And about the relationship between Kurisu and Dr. Nakabachi. And that what was supposedly Dr. Nakabachi's theory was actually based off of Kurisu's writings. I told her that the original copy of Kurisu's work might be hidden on her laptop or her hard drive. And I told her that Russia and America might be fighting over it. As for how Kurisu died, I decided to skip that. I knew you'd have that expression. Maho was silent the whole time I spoke, with a confused expression on her face. She looked like a girl who just graduated to middle school and who was staring at a string of equations on a blackboard that were like nothing she'd ever seen before. Oddly specific! Her expression didn't change even when I finished.
それ、本当の話なの？作り話ではなく。
Maho was asking Daru, not me.
まあね。
やっぱり信じられないか？
別にそういうわけじゃないわ。ただ私の予想とあまりにもかけ離れていたものだから思考が追いつかないの。
What exactly were you expecting?
君の予想というのは？
Thank you for asking. Thank you for... Okay, my powers are channeling through Kyoma.
アマデウスの軍事転用のことじゃないかと考えていたのよ。
軍事転用？
クリスは精神生理学研究所にもよく出入りしていたんだけど、時々場違いな連中がそこにやってくるって言ってたの。どうも国防総省の人じゃないかって。
Russia, the FBI, now the United States Department of Defense? This was getting even more suspicious.
アマデウスで人を殺せるのか？どうやって？
例えば百戦錬磨のパイロットから記憶データをコピーして無人戦闘機の制御に使うとか。
Yep.
あと以前話した医療への応用覚えてる？
人間の脳へ記憶データを書き戻すってやつかな？
そう。記憶データを修正した上で書き戻しが可能になれば恐怖を感じない兵士やどんな非道な任務でも平然と遂行する部隊 なんていう恐ろしいものまで作れてしまう。
Interesting. We heard this idea possibly from Reyes the first time, and I don't think I ever heard Maho actually explain this. Wait, maybe she did, and I'm just having a hard time remembering. I don't know. I've gone through a couple routes already, so I'm trying my best to remember every little detail, you know?
うわ、まるでハリウッド映画じゃん。
More like a horror movie. Did this mean reality had caught up to books and movies?
私はてっきりクリスがそういった実験の証拠を偶然知ってしまったんじゃないかと思っていたの。
That is a possibility, yes.
だからクリスは狙われたと。
ええ。
Maho picked up the laptop. Its red body was evidently made out of some kind of magnesium alloy, and it was a lot lighter than it looked.
でもまさかタイムマシンとはね。
And yeah.
いずれにしてもそれはすぐに破壊した方がいい。
中身を確認もせず、あなたが言う論文が入っているとは限らないわよ。
Well, to be fair, if you look at the information, you will have the information. Therefore, you could possibly be used. Your memory data could easily just be used.
中身はもう関係ないんだよ。クリスが残した遺産がこの世に存在している。それだけで戦争の火種になりうるんだ。
Fair point. She still didn't seem satisfied.
でもこれはクリスが生きていたという証、クリスが残した意志なのよ。それをあっさり葬り去るなんて。
その中身を知ることで今度は君が狙われるかもしれない。
そうだけど。
If this wasn't working, maybe I needed to try another approach.
その PC のパスワード、クリスには当然聞いてみたんだろう。アマデウスだよ。
もちろん最初に試してみたわ。
でもダメだったんだな。
Maho nodded.
おかしいよな。普通は知っているはずだろう。でもアマデウスのクリスは知らなかった。それなら考えられる可能性は一つだ。クリス本人がアマデウスの知らないうちにパスワードを変更した。
Yep.
なぜそうしたと思う？中身を知られたくなかったからじゃないのか。死者の墓を暴くような真似はやめよう。な。
暴くなんて、そんな言い方。ごめんなさい。確かに岡部さんの言う通りかもしれないわ。私クリスにこだわりすぎているのかもしれない。
君がクリスのことをとても大切に思っていることはよくわかるよ。だがこればかりは手を出さない方がいい。パンドラの箱どころか地獄の釜の蓋になりかねない。
The gate to hell.
中二病つ
Jesus!
いちいち茶化すな。
Maho hugged the laptop tight to her chest and sighed.
了解したわ、岡部さん。今起こっている事態そのものは理解した。まだ頭の整理はついてないけどね。このノート PC は破棄しましょう。
ありがとう。
I was so glad she understood.
やっぱり大した人だ君は。
何が？
普通こんな話は花から否定するか否定しないまでも全て疑ってかかるかどっちかだろ。
買いかぶりすぎよ。いつもの私だったら否定どころか聞く耳すら持っていないわ。科学者っていうのはね、本来どんな些細な可能性であっても 否定すべきではないんだけれど、得てして自分の主義主張や常識に固執する傾向にあるから。
Well, I mean, that can technically be said of pretty much anybody.
じゃあ今回はなぜ？
そこにマキセ・クリスが関わっているからよ。
Maho's smile was bitter.
タイムトラベル理論？タイムリープマシン？冗談じゃないわ。そんなもの存在してたまるものですか。でもね、クリスならやりかねない。いつだって私の常識を破壊し尽くしてきたのはあの子なんだから。
そうか。
That's right. Her Amadeus login ID was Saliri. I almost said that, but stopped myself. It seemed to me like that ID held some kind of gloomy meaning to her as a scientist.
で、依頼料はどうするん？実はマホタンにもらった分さ、今月末発売のエロゲー予約で使っちゃったんだよね。
Dude!
お前最低だな。
He is!
そのための裏バイトなんだっつうの。
Of course, everything's specifically for the hentai.
いいわ。お金を返してだなんて言いません。もともとダメ元で頼んだのだし。
言っとくけど、あと3日あればパスワード突き止めて解析完了してたから、これはガチ。
Totes serious.
そういうことにしておくわ。
Maho smiled and turned back to me.
ちなみに、一応証拠は見せてほしいんだけれど。
証拠？
Oh, we gotta show her the time machine, don't we?
どこかに置いてあるんでしょ？そのタイムマシン。それと、鈴葉さんに一度話を聞きたいわ。
Oh boy.
それはどうだろうな。
Daru had agreed to it, but still, I'd told Maho about the time machine without asking Suzuha. We just got into a fight, and I really didn't want to bring this up with her. But even showing Maho the time machine would mean I'd need to get Suzuha's permission, and that made it difficult.
ダル。鈴葉に話を通すのはお前から。
What the hell? Before I could finish my sentence, the intercom on the desk beeped.
もう大事な話してんのになんだお。
His tone was the same as ever, but I didn't miss the sudden flash of tension across Daru's face. Got a bad feeling about this.
もしもし、なんかあったん？
Daru flipped through several channels on the security monitor as he continued to talk on the phone. Uh-oh. All 6 monitors have been displaying the interior of the store, but now they showed the entrance to the building, the emergency exit, the corridors, the elevator hall, and the emergency stairs. So he had cameras not just inside the building, but outside it too? But this was no time to be impressed. The images were covered in white, snowy static, but I could see strange figures on the screen.
なんだこいつら。
Oh dear. The entrance to the building, the 1st floor elevator hall, the 7th floor elevator hall, the 7th floor emergency stairs, and in front of the cosplay shop. There'd been nothing there a moment ago, but now there were 4 men standing in each of these 5 places. They were silent and did not speak to one another. Crap! There were around 20 of them in all. Some were wearing suits, others typical Akihabara fashions, yet others were wearing military camo. Individually, none of them would really stand out in Akihabara, but the fact that so many people had all come to this lonely building at once seemed terrifying. Also, extremely suspicious.
オキドキ。ここは放置するわ。君も適当に逃げるといいよ。ほんじゃ。
Evidently, he'd been talking to the man at the front counter. He put down the intercom and looked at us.
そういうわけで逃げるべ。
Yeah.
え？
Daru pulled out a backpack and began tossing hard drives, memory cards, and other pieces of equipment into it.
そのノート PC も please.
Maho stood there blinking as she handed him Kurisu's laptop and hard drive.
おい、あいつらは誰だ？
やっぱりクリスの PC が狙われているの？
さあ、どうかな。僕もいろいろやらかしてるからさ、こういうこと今までにもあったし。
Oh, it has?
ま、だからこそ裏のバイトなわけで。
おいおい。
Yeesh. Daru took the laptop and hard drive from Maho, threw them into the backpack, then slid it in onto his back.
そもそも逃げるってどうやって？店の入り口には連中がいるんだぞ。
いやー、この場所気に入ってたのにな。ついに放棄か。
Despite his tone, his expression was still serious. He walked to the corner of the room. There was a life-size poster of a golden-haired Vocalo stuck to the wall. Wait a minute. Is that supposed to be a Vocaloid? I've actually listened to them before. The name of a desktop music software for home computers that allows for the creation of an artificial singing voice. Oh. I, thought it was, okay, never mind.
リンタン、ちょっとごめんよ。
Oh my god, it was a Vocaloid. Daru carefully took the poster off the wall, making sure not to damage it. There was a glass door hidden but not behind it, which led out to a concrete veranda.
こっちだお。
Wait, that was how he was going to escape? But this was the 7th floor, right? There wasn't time to worry about it. Daru went out to the veranda without bothering to wait for us. I pushed Maho forward and urged her to go ahead of me. Oh boy. The veranda was filled with junk, just like the inside. The floor was covered with old PCs and monitors, as well as old arcade games that were clearly broken. Is Polybius in there? There was barely any place to stand. That meant that as long as you ducked down a little, there was probably no way you could be seen from outside. Maybe he'd set this up deliberately so that he could use it in case of an emergency. My god, Daru! From there we escaped like we were in a spy movie. We removed the board that connected this veranda to the next one, moved down to the room to the edge of the building, and then used the emergency ladder to get to the 2nd floor. It was an empty space that Daru rented with some of his acquaintances, and we were able to use the bathroom to escape to an unused room in the next building. Wow! My blood ran cold when Daru got a call that the men in front of the cosplay shop had broken in. From there, we planned to escape from the next building's emergency exit. The emergency exit there led to a different alleyway than the one we'd originally come in, so in theory, they shouldn't have been able to find us. But we were naive. The narrow alleyway between the buildings was dark and deserted. They were waiting for us there, as if they'd known exactly where we were going. Crap. We were caught off guard, and before we could run, one of them grabbed Maho. And then there was no way for us to resist. They grabbed Daru and me, twisted our arms behind our backs, and slammed us to the ground. But it wasn't the group who had attacked us in the building. They were all wearing full-face masks, motorcycle suits, and leather jackets. One of them, the girl holding Maho down, the holding down Maho was clearly a woman. Reyes! There was only one woman I knew who'd attack us while dressed like that. It's not her! I couldn't even hear her. I was right. I knew that voice. I could tell even with her helmet hiding her face. Oh! Shit, maybe it is Moeka! She held Maho with her left arm and took out a military knife with her right. She put the knife up to Maho's throat. Oh dear. The horrible memories came flooding back to me. Whether it had happened in a different world line or not, the merciless voice that had taken my Yuri from me was right here. I gritted my teeth so hard it hurt and glared at the woman in the motorcycle suit. I forced myself to speak, and the woman in the motorcycle suit took the knife away from Maho's neck. She handed her over to one of the other men. And then she took off her helmet. Hey, Moeka! Kiryu Moeka. So it was you after all.
どこにあるの？
Her eyes were completely devoid of emotion, just like they were on August 13th. I was forced off the ground by one of the others. Interesting, now we've actually got the Rounders as the enemy this time. Okay. But my arm was still twisted upwards. I tried as hard as I could not to scream from the pain.
まず手を離せ。これじゃちゃんと話もできない。
Moeka slightly nodded to the other men. The hand that was holding me drew back. I could finally move again. Daru was released too, and he stood up, mumbling something. But Maho was still in their hands.
ヒヤジョ博士と交換。
Fair trade.
誰？リュックを貸せ。
Daru was about to take off his backpack.
ダメよ、私はダメ。
ヒヤジョさん、おとなしくしててくれ。そいつは本当に君を殺す。脅しじゃない。
This is actually not that good considering how much, you know, Maho and Moeka bonded in the previous route.
自分の論文のために君が死んで、それでクリスが喜ぶのか。
Maho looked like a small child on the verge of tears. Still glaring at Moeka, I took the laptop and hard drive out of the backpack.
これだ。
リュックごと渡して。
Hmm?
先にヒヤジョさんを解放しろ。
She didn't respond. Fine. Then I'd have to bluff.
複合化するパスワードを知りたければ、俺たちを出し抜こうとするな。
I put the two items back in the backpack and handed it over to her. It was all I could do to keep my voice from quaking.
こいつはパスワードがなければ絶対に起動することができない。世界中のハッカーがサジを投げた代物だ。俺たちの安全が保証されたら教える。こいつを渡した途端に殺されたんじゃたまらないからな。
Of course, I had no clue what the password was. If they found that out, we were doomed. Daru was giving me a questioning glance. I ignored it. Keep your damn mouth shut, Daru.
確かに。そうね。
Right. She fell for it! That meant...
それじゃあ、誰か一人、私たちと来てもらう。
I volunteer.
二人は今すぐに解放する。その後、パスワードが正しければ、残り一人も解放する。
Damn, it's not good enough.
それはダメだ。残る一人の命の保証がない。
なら、三人とも来てもらうだけ。
Oh, cool. I don't mind. This woman is my favorite. I could feel cold sweat on my back. I've never been involved in a life or death deal before. I had no idea what to do next.
明日至る。こっちへ。
僕
Yep.
あなたはスペシャリストだと聞いている。リュックを持ってこっちへ。
いや
あなたが来るなら他の二人はここへ置いていってもいい。
待て。だったら俺が行く。それでいいだろう。
あなたのことは上から何も聞かされていない。パスワードを知っているかどうかもわからない。
You make a fair point. But if I told you I liked you, would you let me go? Damn. She saw through me. Moeka put the knife back to Maho's neck.
明日至る。早く来て。
そういうセリフはもっとエロいシチュの時にお願いしたいわけだが。
Daru, not appropriate! Daru was joking, but his whole body was shaking. What do I do? They were going to kill Daru. I thought as fast and as hard as I could, but nothing came to me. In this world line, Dara was going to live until 2036 and complete the time machine. That much was clear from Suzuha's testimony. If the world lines were going to converge, even if Moeka took Daru here, he wouldn't be killed. Right? No. That didn't mean I could leave him here. One of the men with Moeka was looking at his watch. He noticed it too. They might have felt they were taking too much time with the kidnapping done in broad daylight. I hoped that somebody might wander by, but there was no counting on that stroke of luck. I needed to solve this myself instead of relying on others. Preferably not. I felt a cold knife press hard against my carotid artery. Darwin Maho was screaming, but suddenly it all seemed unreal, like it was taking place in a distant world. They say that's what happens whenever someone is confronted with their own death, and it was happening to me now. I can't die either way, right? I tried asking myself that. I tried asking Suzuha even though she wasn't here. I tried asking the world. Of course, nobody answered. The fact that I might not die didn't mean I could do something stupid here. A normal college kid like me would be too scared to move once they had a knife to their neck. I'd seen people die many times, and I'd almost been killed. I never did get used to it. Thoughts of Kurisu's blood came back into my mind, and I almost suffered a flashback. My body shook, and it was all I could do to keep from collapsing to the ground. Was there nothing else I could do? Well, just when I was about to give up, a black van pulled up and braked hard at one end of the alley, blocking us in. The sliding door opened and out poured men carrying assault rifles. They were all wearing gray military uniforms and face masks. Their eyes were the eyes of trained soldiers. From their huge frames and the color of their skin, it was clear that they weren't Japanese. I immediately realized that this was all real. It wasn't cosplay or anything like that. Those guns were real and a battle was about to begin. My experience with the August 13th attack and the war zone I'd lived in until a few days ago came back to me. It didn't matter who was friend or foe. Moeka moved the instant I spoke. She saw the attackers and jumped into the shadow of a nearby building. The other rounders spread out too. They let go of Maho, who was standing up confused in the middle of the alley. Oh shit! The man who was holding me was the only one who reacted a bit too slowly. And there was a sharp noise and a bullet went through the helmet of the rounder who was holding a knife to my throat. As he went down, I went down with him, and I hit the ground hard. The impact made me let go of Daru's backpack. One of the other rounders grabbed it off the ground and ran in the opposite direction of the van. A man got out of the van, evidently the commander, and barked orders in what sounded like Russian. One of the soldiers turned their gun on the fleeing rounder. The rounder's body flew up off the ground as both he and the backpack were torn open. The contents of the backpack fell to the ground, scattering across the asphalt. The laptop and hard drive were hit with more gunfire than possibly could have been necessary. Chris's laptop and hard disk were turned to unrecognizable scrap in just a few seconds. I crawled behind a light pole without even bothering to look. Well, it really all happened in an instant. I looked around and the Russian soldiers were running toward us. Moeka and her rounders had vanished at some point, leaving only the two bodies. The soldiers silently recovered the remains of the laptop and hard disk, picked up the bodies of the two rounders, and got right back in their van. They didn't even pause to look at us. There were only a couple of minutes between the time when they arrived and when they left. All that were left were little fragments lying on the ground. The blood from two bodies. Maho, who was lying on the ground and shaking. Daru, who was standing in shock behind one of the buildings. And me, lying on the ground. My heart had been pounding the whole time. I only felt the pain in my neck after it was all over. Evidently, the knife had cut me a little when I'd fallen. A while later, we finally heard the sirens of a police car. And it was only then I remembered that I was in Akihabara, Japan. Third World War may have started long ago, we just didn't know it. I realized that in the face of a war between nations, we truly were powerless. Yeah. Akihabara was in an uproar. There were lots of helicopters in the sky that probably belonged to the media. We escaped to the lab, making sure that no one was following us. It hadn't been that long since we were attacked at the hotel. If the cops found us at the scene of another crime like that, they'd be suspicious for sure. So we ran before the police arrived. Suzuha wasn't at the lab. Maybe she'd sensed what was going on outside and gone to check on the time machine. We held our breath and waited. It felt like if we let anyone know we were here, more scary people would burst down the door and charge in.
橋田さん、ここタオルって置いてある。
洗面所にあるを。
Maho nodded and brought a new towel from the washroom. She handed it to me.
岡部さん、首血が出てる。これで押さえて。
あありがとう。
Thanks. My neck was wet with blood. Fortunately, it wasn't a deep wound, so it wasn't long before it stopped. After handing me the towel, Maho sat down right on the floor. Didn't move. I knew how she felt, especially since this was the second time she'd been attacked. And this time, people had died right in front of her.
大丈夫か、ヒヤジョさん。
She nodded hesitantly, but her face was deathly pale. And I realized she'd been clutching her left hand into a fist this whole time. There was blood coming out of it.
怪我したのか、見せて。
Evidently, she hadn't noticed she'd been hurt. She was looking at her left hand, confused.
あら、
どうした？
指開かない。変ね。
Are you okay? Mao had been holding some small fragment in her left hand. Her hand had frozen around it and wouldn't move. Soon it started to shake. I grabbed her hand and forced open her fingers one by one. Whatever it was, she'd been clutching it so tightly that she'd cut off the blood flow to her fingers. They were very cold. When I finally forced her hand open, the thing she was holding fell to the floor. What was it? I picked it up.
Oh.
It's a fragment of the laptop. It was a red piece of magnesium alloy. And it was a piece of Kurisa's laptop. She must have grabbed it off the ground when she was running away. If she held something so sharp tightly for so long, of course she was going to bleed. I need to get you a tetanus shot. I returned it to Maho without a word. She took the broken fragment and cradled it in her hands, then stared at it with an empty expression. Suddenly, a single line of tears dripped down her cheek. After that, it didn't stop. She continued to sob. It was as if that tiny fragment was Kurisu herself. She held it to her chest and kept crying.
ヒヤジョさん、きっとクリスは安心したと思う。君が無事でよかったって。
Yeah.
だから君が謝ることなんてない。謝らなくてもいいんだ。
She didn't respond. Instead, a phone started to vibrate.
私。
Maho took out her cell phone and looked at the message she had received.
レスキネン教授からだわ。
どうした？
荒らされたって。オフィスと、あとホテルの部屋、教授と私のひどいことになってるって。
そうか。
Whether it was the Rounders, the Russians, or whoever had first surrounded the cosplay shop, they must have been after Kurisa's laptop and hard drive.
あの PC バックアップは存在しないんだよな。それならこれでよかったんだ。
I mean, from the description, it says that they basically tore those, the computer and the hard drive completely to shreds with just bullets. I don't think any amount of technology is going to be able to put that shit back together. And then again, I'm not entirely tech savvy, so I wouldn't know.
残したものが何十億もの人を殺す道具として使われることはなくなったんだから。
In the end, I got what I wanted. Data was destroyed before anyone got their hands on it. There was so little left that I was sure there would be no way to restore it.
つかさ、ロシアはなんであの PC を壊しちゃったんだろう。
That's a good question.
手に入れようとしてたんじゃなかったん？
今のところタイムマシン開発競争じゃロシアがリードしてるんだ。ロシアからすればノート PC を手に入れられればそれでよし。だが他の連中に奪われるぐらいなら壊してしまった方がマシって考えてたんじゃないか。
Yeah. They probably wanted to avoid a protracted gunfight with the Rounders in broad daylight in Japan. The cold way they made their decisions made me shiver. They really were professional soldiers. An amateur couldn't do that.
で、これからどうする？
できればここにはいたくない。
Russia might not know about this place, but Moeka might. If the Rounders were on the move, the Tenochi downstairs might be involved too.
日が暮れたら移動しよう。
It would have been great if Souza had come back, but I couldn't get in touch with her. What? Okay. That was extremely stressful. I wasn't ready for a Maho bathing scene. Okay. Maho was sinking into a warm bathtub. She could finally feel blood flowing through her body again. The heat melted the tension away from her muscles. Her injured hand hurt a little, but it wasn't unbearable. She felt like she'd come back to life. Once the sun had set, Maho and Rentaro had gone to Ferris, the cat-eared maid at May Queen Yan Squared, for help. Ferris's home was at the top of a high-rise condo building on prime Akihabara real estate. From a security perspective, it was superior to the future Gadget Lab in every way imaginable. Ferris welcomed the two of them, offering them food and a place to sleep. Ferris is the best friend. And now she'd even offered them a bath. Maho was a little worried about Hashida Itaru. He'd insisted on staying to wait for his younger sister Suzuha and remained alone at the future Gadget Lab. More than an hour had passed since then. Had Rentaro heard anything? And even if they'd moved, that didn't mean this place was safe. The group from this afternoon could attack at any time. She couldn't help but feel nervous, and that made her feel terrified and vulnerable as she sat naked in the tub in the bath. She got out of the bathtub and hurried to the changing room to wipe herself down. She tried to put on the change of underwear Ferris had given her. What? Okay! And her hands started to shake, then her knees buckled and she fell to the ground.
極度の緊張とそこからの急激な緩和で一時的にひどい近視感が起こってる。
I was not ready for this. I was not ready for this. She tried to stay calm by analyzing herself, but that didn't mean she could do anything but lie down.
これは
Just... Barrett... Alarm bells were going off in her head. She'd just about given up, knowing that it would pass the time, when Ferris popped her head in. Okay, Ferris screamed and started to panic when she saw Maho naked and lying on the floor. I was not prepared for 2 heart attacks today. Mao's voice was so weak that Ferris didn't even hear her. Ferris tried to pick up the naked Maho and then slipped and dropped her. Maho hit the back of her head on the floor. She saw a little star dancing across her field of vision. Sprawling naked on the floor, face up, Maho tried to force herself to stand, but her arms were too weak. But Ferris wasn't listening. For some reason, she decided to reach around Maho from behind and try to drag her up. And then Rintaro must have heard Ferris' scream because he... Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
どうしたんだ、フェイリス。
Oh, this... Okay. She wanted to scream, but all that came out was a tiny whimper. Oh, dear lord. Okay.
本当に悪かった。この通りだ。
Rintaro lowered his head deeply towards Maho as she lay on the bed.
謝らなくてもいいわ。さっきのはあくまでも事故なんだから。
No, sure, go ahead, show that again. But she still couldn't bear to look him in the face. Just remembering the despair and embarrassment she'd felt when he saw her naked body made her want to bury her head in a pillow and flail her legs back and forth. To make matters worse, she still hadn't been able to stand up after all that, and Rintaro had been forced to carry her to the bed. She'd never been touched by a boy before, and so it was only today that she realized how rugged male arms were. Being carried was extremely uncomfortable, to the point where she'd squirmed around and almost slipped out of his arms. So she'd had no choice but to curl herself into a ball and let Rintaro do whatever he wanted with her, which made her feel really strange. And now she couldn't even bear to look at his face. Okay. Wasn't ready for that. Could you have at least wrapped her in a towel or something? Ferris was sitting next to Rintaro, feet under her knees, with her shoulders slumped.
いいのよ。むしろ驚かせてしまってごめんなさい。
体は平気なのか？病院に行かなくても。
強い緊張が続いていたから、その反動が来ただけ。もう少し休めば回復すると思う。心配かけてしまったわね。みっともないわ。
みっともないもんか。今日みたいなことに巻き込まれれば誰だって怖い。具合だって悪くもなる。
あなたでも怖い？
ああ。
そう。
今夜はもう休むといいにゃ。事件のこととか、これからどうするかとか、難しい話は元気になってから考えるといいにゃ。
Yeah.
そうね。ええ、そうするわ。ありがとう。
Just get some rest, Maho. Maho closed her eyes. The lights went out and Rintaro and Ferris left the room. She lay on the bed and tried not to think about anything. She could hear the pounding of her heart. Apparently so can I. It would get louder and then softer. The rhythm was very strange. and she could hear a kind of static noise mixed in with her heartbeat, like a broken TV. Was it exhaustion-induced tinnitus? Whatever it was, once she noticed it, she couldn't sleep.
そういえば岡部さんが精神安定剤を服用しているって言ってたわね。
She wasn't supposed to do this, but if she looked at their ingredients, she could tell what medications had what effect. Could she take a look and have him lend her some? That wasn't possible. She could at least get some over-the-counter antihistamines to use as a sleep aid. She turned over.
大声を出さないで、言うことを聞いて。さもないと、命はない。
Oh, hi, Moeka. Suddenly she heard a voice break through the unpleasant noise. She gulped and leapt out of bed. Terror-stricken Maho tried to call to the door, but her legs wouldn't move like she wanted to. She couldn't stand up. The voice in her ears followed her wherever she went. It was like a wild animal toying with its prey. All of the hairs on her body were standing up on end. Her jaw was chattering so hard she bit her tongue. She desperately crawled across the carpet and towards the door.
一人殺してみせればいい。
Is she just imagining this?
やめて、やだ、やだ。
平女さん、おい。
She woke up to find herself being violently shaken by the shoulders. She looked around the room, panting. She was in bed and Rentaro was looking down at her. Her whole body was sweaty and she felt sick. There was a burning sensation deep in her stomach.
どうした？
誰かがここに。
Rentaro looked around. Ferris came a moment later as well as the older man who was her butler, but they were simply standing at the entrance of the room, concerned.
きっと悪い夢を見たんだ。
The antique clock on the shelf said that at some point it had gotten past 1 a.m. She must have slept for hours without realizing it.
そうね、夢だったみたい。
She took a painful breath and wiped the sweat off her forehead without realizing that she sounded just like a little child. She sent Ferris and the butler back to their rooms. Rentaro brought her a towel from the washroom.
ひどい汗だ。拭いた方がいい。
She did as he said and wiped the beads of sweat off her face, chest, and limbs. As she was deciding whether or not to wipe the inside of her pajamas, Rentaro took the hint and turned around.
俺も自分の部屋に戻るから、何かあったらいつでも声をかけてくれ。
What's wrong?
お？
橋田さんは？
Yeah, how is he doing, man?
あ、さっき連絡が来たよ。鈴葉とも合流したって。
Ah, good.
そう。
それじゃあ。
Rentaro was about to leave her bedside. But Maho, and she couldn't believe she was doing this, reached out and grabbed the hem of his shirt without thinking.
お願い、少しだけでいいからここにいて。
ひやちょうさん。
一人にしないで。
Maho was surprised by the words she was saying, but the thought of spending this terrible night all by herself was too much for her. Rentaro must have understood how she felt, because he nodded without smiling.
わかった。眠るまで一緒にいるよ。
ありがとう。わがまま言ってごめんなさい。
いや、いいんだ。どうせ俺もなかなか寝つけなかったし。後ろ向いてるから 汗だけはちゃんと拭くといい。
ええ。
While Rentaro stared back at the door, she took off her pajamas and wiped off the thick layer of sweat that covered her whole body. She tried to put her pajamas on again, but they were too drenched for her to want to wear them. She had no choice but to dive back under the covers in nothing but her underwear, and bring the comforter way above her chest.
もういいわ。
Amidst the dim glow of the nightlight, Rentaro brought a chair to the side of the bed and sat down.
ここで見張ってるから、何も怖がらなくていい。これなら安心だろ。不安か？
You really are a good guy, Okabe.
うん。大丈夫。
Maho's face felt hot from some feeling that she didn't understand. She sank deeper under the blanket and turned away from Rentaro. She softly closed her eyes. She could feel his presence behind her. The two of them stopped talking, and the only noise was the distant sounds of night coming from beyond the curtain. How long did they spend like that? Just as she was about to fall into a light sleep, she heard a soft voice in her ears.
いや、ジョーさん。まだ起きてるか？
ええ。
She felt herself waking up again. She opened her eyes and turned back towards Rentaro, only to see him staring toward the window. It was as if he was trying to see some sight that lay beyond it. His profile is so handsome. For some reason, that was the thought that came to her.
どうかしたの？
Rentaro seemed unwilling to talk, so Maho decided to speak first. He swallowed loudly.
本当はずっと言おうと思ってたけど勇気がなかった。すまない。
何のこと？
俺は一つだけ。
What?
一つだけ。
君に重大なことを隠している。
What are you going to tell her? Mao leaned forward, not caring that he might see her chest.
さっき話したよな。別の世界線のことやそこで出会ったクリスのこと、タイムマシンやタイムリープのこと。
ええ。
クリスとその父親のことも。
ええ。
あの時本当はもう一つ言わなきゃいけないことがあったんだ。
You're not gonna tell her what I think you're gonna tell her, are you?
でもどうしても言い出せなかった。
His head was slumping forward in the chair. Maho waited silently for his next words. Despite the late hour, she heard a helicopter in the distance. For some reason, it sounded really loud. She hadn't seen the news, but it was possible that the media was still talking about the gun battle that had taken place this afternoon.
これは君にだけは絶対に話すべきことだったのに。
When he finally spoke, his expression was unlike any look she'd ever seen on his face before. It was pained, sad, and suffering, like someone at the bottom of a deep, dark place. And yet there was something in his eyes that hinted at incredible self-hatred and rage.
岡部さん。
Suddenly, her chest felt like it was about to burst from pain. She didn't know where the pain was coming from, but she wanted Rentaro to stop looking like that.
あの日ラジカンでクリスを
Oh no, dude. His hands were forming some kind of shape, like he was holding an invisible knife.
クリスを殺したのは
もういいわ。
She screamed, unable to take it anymore. She rolled out of bed, forgetting how she was dressed, and covered Rentaro's hands with her own.
いいの、もういい。それ以上言わなくていいから。私はあなたを信じているわ。だから話さなくていい。いつかその時が来たら嫌でも聞かせてもらうことになると思う。でもそれは今じゃない。その時が来るまでは口をつぐんでおきなさい。
She strengthened her grip and forced him to let go of the invisible knife. Rentaro nodded, saying another word. They simply stared at each other for a while. Mao couldn't look away from his gaze. It was as if he was clinging to something, or wandering in search of salvation. You okay, Mao? She sneezed.
風邪ひくぞ
And it was only then that she realized that she was holding Rentaro's hands while wearing next to nothing. Rentaro looked a little embarrassed.
ごめんなさい。
She quickly jumped back in the blankets. She curled up into a ball and tore at her hair, screaming inside her mind. She'd let her boy see her naked not once, but twice.
私
Oh dear.
今度こそもう寝るわ。
邪魔して悪かった
邪魔だなんて思ってないわよ。でもさっきの話はこの場限りにしていい？いい？
あありがとうヒヤジョーさん。
お礼なんて言われる筋合いはないわ。それじゃあおやすみなさい。
おやすみ
The room got quiet again. The adrenaline rush kept Maho awake. After a while, she heard snores coming from Rentaro's direction. Evidently, he'd fallen asleep. He must have been tired. He went through the same attack that Maho had. Of course he was. His breathing wasn't peaceful at all. It was pained. He may have been in the grip of some terrible nightmare. Mao hesitated several times, but finally, she turned over and stretched out her hand from the blankets. She softly touched the back of his hand. She felt its warmth on her fingertips.
クリスはあなたのことをなんて呼んでいたのかしら。岡部さん？それとも凛太郎だったのかな。
She didn't know, but it didn't matter.
しっかりしなさい。岡部凛太郎。この私が好きになった人はそんなに弱い男だったわけ。
Aww. She tried to think about how Kurisu would say those words, and eventually Rentaro's breathing started to become more peaceful. Relieved, she let go, and then she changed her mind and grabbed the hem of his shirt again. He felt embarrassed, as if she was a little kid. But at the same time, she felt like now she might not have any more nightmares. Oh my. That's plenty right now. Oh my god. Okay, I admit that was again, what do you know? Another roller coaster of emotions. It was tense, then it was terrifying, then it was somewhat comical, and then that was an extremely sweet scene. Oh god. Damn. Steins Gate Zero, why do you do this to me? You make me feel just... all different kinds of things. But that's honestly why you're one of my favorite visual novels. Actually, no, that's why you're one of my favorite stories that I've gotten to experience. Much better. Oh, God. That was a very wonderful scene, and... I was afraid that he was going to tell her, but that was a very much needed scene. It was very well executed, I think. Damn it! You make me feel too many emotions. But that's not much of an issue. It feels good to kind of get back to Steins Gate now that I've kind of calmed down from the Kingdom Hearts 3 hype, since that was, I'm pretty sure that must have annoyed some people. But no, we are now back on the original schedule. There will not be, I'm not going to play any more favoritism. Well, I'm going to try not to play any more favoritism, obviously. But we're back on the normal recording schedule. So, excuse me, my heart is currently hurting because that scene was just really... It was a really well done scene. Even though Okabe saw Maho naked twice. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Oh my god, my heart! Hello there everybody, Sabato92 here, and if you like this video, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. And hey, if you guys like my content, then maybe you'd like to check out another channel who I think deserves equal attention. So click that Nightmare emblem and check out that channel, or go to the links in the description down below. Once again, thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next video.